Meanwhile, the House is expected to hold a key test vote today on a bill to regulate cryptocurrency. The quote Genius Act aims to create a regulatory framework for so-called stable coins tied to the U.S. dollar or similar assets. The vote comes as Democrats are scrutinizing foreign investment in the Trump family's own stablecoin. Let's bring in ABC's Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill for more. So, Jay, what would the Genius Act do, and how much support does it have right now?
So this is regulation, Diane, that would make stablecoin more accessible, more easily to adopt. And it's something that Republicans and Democrats have agreed on in the past. But Democrats in the Senate at the 11th hour this week started to turn against this legislation, in part because President Trump is tied to a venture that has a stablecoin as part of it. It's a venture that he's part of with Steve Witkoff, one of his top Middle East advisors, and Steve Witkoff's children, et cetera. And so what we heard from Democrats is concern that the president could financially benefit from legislation that makes stablecoin easier to adopt, which is what this legislation in part would do. So Democrats started to come out against this legislation. Republicans would need Democrats in the Senate to clear that key test vote, which is still on track for this afternoon. And what we saw yesterday into last night were behind closed doors negotiations to try to get some of that Democratic support back. It looks like they are talking about potentially adding more guardrails, or what Democrats call anti-corruption measures, to this legislation. Perhaps there are amendments to try to distance politicians from owning or being tied to stablecoin. We have no text yet or any kind of details on if there is some kind of a deal or if there will be amendments to this legislation. But certainly those negotiations ongoing. And again, that test vote still set to happen in the Senate this afternoon.
Democratic Senator Dick Blumenthal also announced this week that he's probing potential conflicts of interest and violations of the law from President Trump's cryptocurrency ventures. What are his main concerns, and what's next?
So he's looking at that cryptocurrency venture, the one I talked about that's tied to the stablecoin. And then he's also looking at another cryptocurrency venture tied to the meme coin. So there's the stablecoin, and then there's the meme coin. The meme coin is that $ Trump coin that you've seen, that Trump has set up meetings with donors who have purchased the coin and things of that nature. And what Democrats are probing, and frankly was one of their concerns about the stablecoin legislation I was just talking about, is there are those who could buy that cryptocurrency, either the meme coin or the stable coin, but particularly that meme coin, and try to use their purchase of that cryptocurrency to influence the president. So we expect Senate Democrats to dive into that. But remember, Diane, they are in the minority in both the House and the Senate. So while they do have investigatory powers, their powers to probe this are somewhat limited.